You got knocked down. Now it's time to rise stronger than ever. This is Forged by Fire, the Intentional Man podcast for husbands, fathers, and leaders who refuse to stay broken. We rebuild with purpose, we live with clarity, and we lead like hell's watching. Let's get to work. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Forged by Fire podcast. Super excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. One of the best things about doing this podcast is I've always got to come up with content, so I'm reading a lot. And the book I read this last week, and I just finished it, is by Tim Grover, I believe it is. It's called Relentless. If you guys don't know who Tim Grover is, he was a athletic trainer. His first client was Michael Jordan. Had other clients like Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. I believe he's still doing it today, but he's had some very high profile clients. And, you know, these elite level athletes, I mean, the things they go through to get to where they are is it's just phenomenal. These guys, they put their bodies through more than I would even want to start thinking about. These professional athletes, I mean, they're just amazing. And he talks about three types of people. He talks about the closer, and the closer is more of a kind of like a right behind the leader type guy. He's a leader, but he gets things done, but he's not Michael Jordan. He's like a LeBron James is kind of where I would fall on him. Just can't seem to always get everything done. I mean, 4 championships compared to 6. You know, sure, there's a whole host of people who would disagree with me, but that's kind of where I land on it. And then you have the closers. The guys who the day after the championship, they're thinking about what needs to be done next year to get to that next level again. And they really don't have a day off. And when we think about our marriage and we think about our lives, life doesn't give us a day off. And what we're going to be talking about today is comfort. And comfort, it's killing us. It's killing all of us. Not all at once, not in a dramatic fashion, just slowly, quietly, day by day. You know, most men don't get taken out by one big hit. You know, we've talked about this before. They get taken out by the 1,000 quiet concessions to comfort. We're going to talk about why addiction to comfort is really the enemy that's stealing our leadership. It's stealing our edge in our marriage. We're also going to talk about why being comfortable isn't just harmless. It's really a betrayal of who we're trying to become, who we could become, and let's face it, I've been there. There was a season in my life where I called it taking it easy. You know, I just want to relax. I told myself I deserved a break. I had a long week. I skipped workouts, scrolled through my phone. I numbed out with food and distractions. I'm lucky I'm not like 300-400 pounds the way I used to eat. Not nearly as bad today, although it's something I still probably should focus on. And every time I did it, I told myself the same thing. I'm just resting. I'm just relaxing. I'm just enjoying myself. But that was a lie. And the truth was I wasn't resting. I was really just hiding. And I was slowly killing the part of me that could lead, that could protect, that could stand firm under pressure. I was turning myself into a soft version of a man that not even I respected. You know, in Grover's book, he talks about most guys think they're tired when really they're just addicted to comfort. And how true is that of us? How often do you just do things because they're comfortable, because they're easy? We think we need a break when what actually we need is a wake-up call. Average men, they choose comfort. Average men get soft, they get fat. And average men in a marriage, they really act like a kid in the house, whining, avoiding responsibility, waiting to be taken care of. Average men think they're taking it easy, when in reality, they're just quietly and slowly killing themselves. When you really think about it, they're quitting on themselves. And let's be honest here, who the hell wants to be average? Average doesn't lead. Average doesn't protect. Average doesn't rebuild a marriage or earn respect. Average is just that. It's average. And I got sick and tired of being average. And if you're listening to this, I know one thing's for sure. You were not put here to be average. That's not what we're about. We're not about being average here. Comfort isn't rest. Comfort isn't escape. And every time you choose comfort over a challenge, you weaken the part of you that's built to handle real life. Every skipped rep, every ignored alarm, every time we say just this one time, that really chips away at our self-respect. Every easy choice compounds, and before we even know it, we're drifting so far from the edge that we want to have in our lives that you forget what it even feels like to be sharp. Do you know what it feels like to be sharp today? Do you know what it feels like to hold your head up every time you walk into a room? One thing I loved about that book is Grover just calls it what it is. You either choose to be unstoppable or you choose to be average. And let's face it, you don't get to be both. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, those guys aren't average and great at the same time, are they? They're one or the other. Do you want to be an Austin Reeves or do you want to be a Michael Jordan? And nothing against Austin Reeves, he's a great player, but you get what I'm saying here. And for those of you listening to this, I know damn well you weren't put here to be average. So I want to go over a few things that I think can move us from average to great. So the first thing we got to talk about, it's probably the word I hate the most, triggers. You know, everything seems to trigger everybody nowadays. But it kind of hits the point that I want to make. And you've got to ask yourself, where are you running to hide? What are the moments where you disappear instead of lean in? Where do you check out? And when you check out, not because you're exhausted, but more than anything, you're trying to avoid something. Do you drift into autopilot, scrolling through your phone or zoning out instead of leading your life? How easy is that to do? You've really got to take charge. You know, so just be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where are you lying to yourself and calling it self-care? I'm taking care of myself. I'm relaxing. When it's really you just sabotaging your own edge, your own need to get better. How often do you have another beer you didn't need? Another hour, 2 hours, a weekend lost to mindless entertainment? Another rest day that ends up turning into a rest week or even a rest month? So the best thing to do is just write this down. Put it in black and white, because as soon as you write it down, there's no more hiding from it. You can't hide from it anymore. It's in there. You know it. And let's get one thing straight. We're not triggered here. We're not a bunch of emotional snowflakes whining about how hard life is. We're men, and we face the truth head on. We've got to. Who else is going to do it if we don't? So let's call those things you wrote down on the piece of paper, let's call them what they are. They're a weakness. Every time you avoid discomfort, you feed that weakness. You give it power, you make it stronger, and it keeps you average. So if you want to kill it, if you want to destroy that, you start by naming it, by writing it down in black and white. You own it, expose it. That's the first cut that starts bleeding that weakness out of your system. The next thing we've got to do is we've got to replace comfort with challenge. And what I mean by that is we've got to challenge ourselves instead of always feeding that comfort. Replace the comfort you're addicted to with challenges that forge you. Thus the name, forged by fire, you know. Fire doesn't forge things easily. It heats it up. It refines it. It makes it better. You say you want to be respected? Start earning it by choosing hard over easy. Instead of scrolling like a damn zombie, pick up a book that sharpens your mind. I tell you what, every time I read a book, I'm amazed at the things I learn. And usually in a book, there's one or two nuggets that I grab onto and that really impact my life. And one or two nuggets aren't going to change your life. Thus, one book probably isn't going to change your life. But it's that constant feeding, those constant nuggets of knowledge constantly coming in that really helps. So instead of numbing out with another drink, grab a pen and start writing stuff down. Write down the shit you're avoiding. Instead of sleeping in, hitting the snooze 5 times, get your ass out of bed and train before the sun even knows you're alive, before the sun is up. Break that sweat, hit that iron, start the day before the day starts. I'm sure there's some of you guys sitting there thinking, this is extreme. And the thing I would say is good. Extreme is what builds men. Extreme is what separates leaders from the herd of soft, average, excuse-making guys who pretend they're going to get serious later or who act like they're serious now. If you're making excuses, if you're just pretending you're serious or you're pretending you're going to get serious, what good are you doing anybody? You're just faking it. And I can guarantee you your wife sees it, your kids see it. You're not as good hiding it as you think you are. I promise you you're not. Another thing Grover says when he's talking about the cleaner is, the cleaner isn't looking for balance. He's looking to dominate. He's not asking for permission. He's not checking if he feels like it today. He just executes. Now step back for a second, and I'm going to get into a story a little bit later, how this kind of lived out in my life, but think for a second about how you operate at work. Do you dominate at work? Are you taking control? Are you leading? Whether you're in management or leadership or not, are you leading? Are you being that leader? Next question is, are you being a leader merely in word or in action as well? Because there's a big difference there. Lots of people can give great advice, but are you living up to the advice you're given? Are you doing the same things that you're advising other people to do? Because a cleaner, that's what he's doing. And he's showing other people along the way. He's pulling people up to them. He's not being drugged down by other people. And domination, if you're going to dominate at work, dominate in your life, dominate wherever, it doesn't start on some big stage. It doesn't. It doesn't start with the grandiose things. It starts with the small, boring, private choices you make when no one is watching. It starts in your habits, in your early mornings, in your discipline, when your bed is warm and the excuses are loud. I've been there. That bed can be really warm and those excuses can be loud. But you've got to decide who you're listening to. And that's really where the gap is built between average and unstoppable. And you decide which side you live on every damn day. And another thing we talk about is discipline. And discipline far outweighs motivation. Motivation is cheap. It fades. Right now, man, if you were to ask me anything about this Relentless book, I'm super motivated right now. Talk to me in a month. Let's see what's stuck in a month, because the motivation I have right now is going to fade. It does. It does every time I read a book. I read Daniel Hardy's book, The Compound Effect. And for a while, man, it was small steps lead to big change. Small steps lead to big change. I made a lot of small steps. Not all of them stuck because that motivation failed. But where I built the discipline when I read that book and some of the small steps I took, they're still going on today because that motivation is going to fail. It's the high you get from a hype, whether it's from a video, a song, a stupid quote on Instagram, that's going to fade. And the sad part is most guys live and die by it. They wait for motivation to show up so they can act. Don't wait for motivation to show up. It's discipline where that's seen. That's not how real leaders operate. That's not how unstoppable men live. I used to work for Coca-Cola right after I got out of law enforcement. And I saw people quit all the time. I mean, right and left, people would just quit. Guys would show up when it was easy and disappear when it got hard. They'd blame the company, they'd blame the boss, they'd blame everything except themselves. Me? I showed up every single day. Didn't matter what was going on around me, people leaving, teams falling apart, the pressure stacking up. I did my job. I learned other jobs. I picked up the slack. I kept the people around me moving forward. And you know what that mindset did? Took me from a pre-salesman to a district sales manager to sales center manager in 2 years. Not because I was the most talented, not because I had all the answers. The bottom line was I was relentless. Looking back, one of the best compliments I ever got. One of my employees asked me, "How do you do it? How do you show up the same every day no matter what's happening? It's like nothing phases you." Granted, I just came from law enforcement, so any stress that Coke had was minor at best. But the truth of the matter was, I wasn't operating on my feelings. I was operating on standards, on discipline, on the commitment to myself, and then to the people I led. And that's what Grover calls a cleaner. The cleaner does not care about the drama, doesn't rely on the mood of the day. He shows up the same every damn time and executes. The bottom line is discipline wins the game, period. You either show up and do the work or you're going to drift. There's no middle ground. I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase, you're moving forward or backward, you're never standing still. And moving forward, that's how you earn respect. That's how you rebuild the trust at home. That's how you lead from the front and not just talk about it. One of the best things I think Grover said was being relentless means demanding more of yourself than anyone else could ever demand of you. That's not a slogan. That's a lifestyle. Going back to those NBA players, Kobe, Jordan, Wade, it wasn't a slogan for them. That was a lifestyle. 365 days a year. That was their lifestyle. But you've got to stop performing for the crowd. You stop waiting for motivation. Stop looking for the easy way out. You want to become the man who gets up, shows up, and leads regardless of what life throws at you. That's how you reclaim your edge. That's how you stop being average and start becoming unstoppable. Comfort is killing you, quietly, slowly. So the question is, are you going to keep letting it? Or are you finally ready to trade the slow death of comfort for the sharp edge of discipline? That's the work we do inside Intentional Man. And if you're done hiding behind easy choices, if you're done lying to yourself, it's time to face the brutal truth of where you actually stand. Go take the brutally honest marriage audit. This isn't for men who want to stay comfortable. It's men who are ready to lead and lead in their marriage. The link is in the show notes. If you're serious, take it today. Stop hiding. Start leading. I'll see you next week.